Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So goes the well-known and very, very famous saying. I think everyone would agree that when this saying is spoken, it's with a hopeful view toward the idea that whoever the person is that's being, who's the recipient of the flattery by way of imitation is a benevolent person, a person who possesses certain benevolent character qualities, benevolent character traits, who is known for benevolent acts or deeds that are thus worthy of emulation. That's the hope. If you're going to mimic someone, let it be someone that's good. There is a nuanced version of that same famous saying, and it's often attributed to the great playwright, poet, and author Oscar Wilde. And it goes as follows. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity pays to greatness. Question. Now, what if this statement is being applied to someone who is the opposite of benevolent? They are malevolent. Malevolent character, known for malevolent deeds and or actions. So when it says imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity pays to greatness, this greatness is not a benevolent thing. It just means much worse or bigger or more insidious than the imitator. Well, there's no doubt that I'm speaking of the 47th president of the United States. The very fact that this man has the type of influence that he has over people. I mean, check it out. When I was a kid, and I'm sure like a lot of young people, growing up, when you're in search of self, you have, like for me, it was my father, it was certain uncles, and we picked up certain traits that they had. We mimicked them in certain ways, wore our hat, our cap the same way. I would put a rag in my back pocket to wipe my hands, even though I didn't know how to change a spark plug, mimicking my dad and the whole nine. But we don't look to mimic them exactly. We take certain things and then we put our own spin, our own fingerprint on these things. And then ultimately we become the men and women that we eventually become. Now, that's expected when you're a kid. That's expected when you're a kid. But here's the danger with the situation that we have here in the United States. What if the person that's being mimicked, I don't know, is a self-absorbed, thin-skinned, angry, geriatric gerrymanderer, self-absorbed, speaks of himself in the third person, and everything has to be about him. He's cruel, he's heartless, and the cruel and the heartless part is not a bug, it's a feature. Well, that's what's happened. But see, here's the heart of the matter that I'm trying to get at. Young people seek for models, people to emulate. The people that are emulating the person at 1600 Pennsylvania are full-grown parents, fathers and mothers, grandparents and grandmothers, great-grandparents and grandmothers. They are mimicking this man to a T. The sycophantic, metastasizing MAGA mega cult is the biggest religious movement in America. And rest assured, it is a sickness. And it exists in different stages. Everything from kind of off to, oh my God, is what we're dealing with. is what we're dealing with. How did we get to this point? Well, in my previous video, I mentioned, if you're old enough like me, I mentioned the religious right. I mentioned the Heritage Foundation, the Moral Majority, Jerry Falwell, institutions like Oral Roberts University, all of these things in these places. Well, the issue is that Donald Trump, even though he's the front man, he is the embodiment and the culmination of decades and decades of blueprinted work. And look, while I am no fan, the plan was downright genius, and we see the fruits of their labor in the nationwide hate that's being displayed from sea to shining sea. What would make people who should know better walk up to an individual in a Walmart or in wherever and tell them, here in America, we speak English, go back to your country? Keep in mind, the person that you're attacking speaks their own language, but they likely speak English much better than you. Much better than you. What would make people be okay with their tax dollars bombing, killing, and starving other people? Yet here I am sitting in the parking lot near a marina on the backside of all places, in El Torito, Mexican restaurant. And it's a Sunday afternoon, and all these church people in their glad rags are coming out, and each one has a toothpick in their mouth. And yeah, they look fat, full, and satisfied. Probably fresh off of a Sunday sermon where they amened, and they dropped money to make sure to continue to empower the killing and the slaughter of people under the auspices of Jesus' name. Here's something I want to point out. There are a lot of problems I have with this cult and with its leader, and with the way that people emulate this guy. I mean, down to the words. I want to talk about the fact that they thump Bibles, but I want to point something out. People mimic this man to the point to where they use the exact phraseology that he uses. When it's something that they don't want to deal with, and they're caught in being hypocrites, they say it's fake news or it's a witch hunt. The Democrat Party. Now, you know, whereas that might not seem like a very big deal, before he came on the scene, there was an IC on the end of that. Democratic Party, Republican Party. It's like all of a sudden a group of people deciding they want to call them the Republic Party, even though they don't represent the Republic, and probably don't even understand the concept of a constitutional republic. They're equally as cruel as he is. They're dismissive, they're condescending. Everyone is low IQ, or they're just cruel and hateful. And again, these are our elders that are mimicking these people. How did we get to this point? Okay, so just as I mentioned the Moral Majority and the Heritage Foundation and X, Y, and Z, imagine people segregating, isolating, okay, after targeted procreation, and mass brainwashing their children by way of this odd social, religious, political type of an education. And then strategically having their offspring placed into high offices, whether they be city, local, state, and obviously on the federal level. All of a sudden, the blueprint that has been laid out for a nationalistic white society that hates everybody else except them, it's now enforceable now. It's now been voted into power. That's what has happened to us. And now, mind you, I'm sure that a movement like this probably would have desired a younger figurehead, a younger model to lead the charge. But hey, Donald Trump has a shelf life. And I can guarantee you that there are newer models on the assembly line that are waiting to be commissioned when the engine runs out on the old Model T. So I happen to have it in my possession, a book that contains a famous saying, actually 10 famous, well-known sayings. But I only want to cover two, the first two. And you can see them here in the book. All right. So what people call the 10 Commandments is actually in Hebrew called Eser Hadibrot, the 10 sayings or the 10 matters. Not so much as commandments, but they're matters or they're sayings. And then out of those 10 concepts comes the body of other commandments. This isn't the King Jimmy, mind you. It's not the King Jimmy. One of the worst things in the world you can do is take someone else's book, give it to a group of heathens. They abandon context, they abandon culture, and they abandon language. And the usual byproduct is horse poop. But this is why the MAGA cult, my number one issue with the MAGA cult, they thump the Bible while being hypocrites. And now they are, as a whole, collectively guilty of the number one crime, according to the Hebrew Bible. Number one, and from Exodus chapter 20, it says, Anochi, Adonai Elohecha, asher hotziticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeit ovadim. I, and I alone, am Adonai, your God, who caused you to exit from the land of Egypt, mibeit ovadim, from the house of slavery, from the house of bondage. And the last one, second one, Lo ihye lecha Elohim aharim al panai. Lo ihye lecha, don't you have to you, Elohim aharim, another power or another God, al panai, over my face. Over my face. So, in the English version, we hear, don't have another God before me, but this can also be construed as, you can have other gods, but I have to be number one. And your second God can be that woman that's not your wife. That third God can be, youngsters that you can't keep your hands off of, even though you are family values, senator, state representative, yada, 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 conservative, yada, yada, yada. That vehicle that you can't stop wiping on, that $150,000 vehicle, you have the cheesecloth, or you should be at your daughter's recital. Anything that takes full attention away from the one that you call God, or makes you neglect your family, this thing is a pesel, or an idol. But what does it really mean? So he's saying, don't you have another God over my face. So when the children of Israel made the egel, the golden calf, the Hebrew Bible used the word masecha. Sounds like mask, right? Well, that's because it's a modern Hebrew word for mask. Masecha means to conceal. It's related to a libation, a poured drink libation. So he's saying, don't pour in, and don't pour anything over my face and worship it in place of me. For example, when they melted all of the gold, they poured the gold over the top of the calf, and then all of the people say, here is the God, Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. So don't pour the image of a dead man on a cross and worship that piece of furniture and say, it's me. Don't pour molten gold over the top of a calf and say, it's me. Don't pour anything over the top of, I don't know, let's take a foaming hot ball of rancid vanilla ice cream and pour orange soda over the top of it. Don't pour orange soda over the top of this rancid ball of vanilla ice cream and worship it as God, because that's what has happened in this country. The naranja nemesis, the malignant narcissist, self-centered. This guy has, every building has his name on it. The meme coin has his face and his image. In the Golan Heights, near the Syrian border in Israel, you have the Trump Heights. He refers to himself in the third person. The man has a Bible for the love of God. They are guilty, guilty, and guilty. He is a petulant grampus combination grandpa child, petulant. The petulant typically likes poetry, right? How many D's can I come up here with? Let's see. Dastardly, deranged, dangerously demented, disgustingly dirty, never dapper, dandy diaper dunny, the dusty douche, the Duke of Dumb, daily diligently and dutifully done's damp depends. Say that fast one time. Huh? Damp depends. Yeah, damps. He likes them pre-moistened by others, allegedly. So what I heard. So surely we're going to find out that this man, like a long line of people, are guilty. He's guilty of the crimes that everybody knows that he's guilty of. I had a short list here. I had a short list of people from back in the day. You'll probably remember that. Oh yeah, here it is. Names ring a bell. Mark Foley, Matt Gaetz, George Nader, Joel Greenberg, Roy Moore. Remember that piece of work? Jim Jordan. But my personal favorite, Ralph Shorty. Ralph Shorty. I think he may have been, he was a state senator for, I don't know, Mississippi or Missouri or somewhere. State senator, family values guy, married, 3 or 4 kids. Led the charge against a lot of these initiatives. Same-sex bathrooms, yada, yada, whatever. And he was caught in a motel with a 17-year-old male that he hooked up with off of one of those sites. Could have been Craigslist or something for all I know. I remember because when the police knocked on the door of the motel room, he answered the door with a t-shirt on, and the t-shirt featured an open Bible, and it says, paraphrasing, "Wives, submit yourselves to your husbands as the church submits itself to Christ. Now go make me a sandwich." And he was sentenced to prison. Now, number 47 has trotted out Lawrence Taylor. He's looking to make a sweet deal with Maxwell so that she won't spill the beans on him. But this type of evil just doesn't get away. It doesn't get away. Any cancer must be treated with heat and intense light, and it's going to be burned out. It's going to be burned out. So listen, at the end of the day, we have to do our part. We have to fight. We have to push back. We have to vote. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It took a long time for them to put this plan into motion and to get it to where it is now. So it's going to take a long time. Just like the Supreme Court is overloaded with cuckoo birds of the likes that I've been talking about. It's going to take a long time to filter this out. But we have to start somewhere, right? At the end of the day, a lot of people are not people of faith, and I respect that. I am a person of faith. I believe firmly and truly in the teachings of the little dusty-foot man of color who lived in first century Palestine and who was oppressed by a bunch of heathens. I do believe in those teachings. And how much better of a place, as far as a country would we be? How much better of a world would we be if we lived by those standards? If we lived by the foundation of the Bible, of the Hebrew Bible, and what Jesus taught. The biggest, closest things to the heart of God in the Hebrew Bible is the widow, the orphan, and the most vulnerable among the population. Well, give me your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. What do you think is part of the plan and the way to move forward? Misha Yishlo Ozen Yishama. He who has an ear, let him hear. Take care, folks.